What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, ladies? Welcome to another episode of Smash Time's Lead Therapy. I am your host, Smash Time. At least, I try. I do what I can. Oh, I forgot to turn my cool light on. Hold on one sec. I need my mood lighting. There we go. You got to have your mood lighting, folks. It sets the mood. All right. I hope you guys are all doing very good tonight. We have a very cool guest on. I really like this guy quite a bit. So let's go in here and see who is in the live chat besides me. Man Against the Masses, what's going on? Welcome to the episode. Welcome to the show. What do I win? I don't know. Nothing yet. Fluffy, my man. Hope you're feeling better, bud. Fluff, give everyone an update, man. As you're back, are you doing somersaults? Are you back at work? Are you working? What's going on? What's going on? We want to know, man. We worry about you. Bobby Goodwin, my buddy. Thanks, man. Hey, I will see you. I'll be at the range on Saturday, man, if you want to come shoot Saturday. Jesus, what's up? Lucky Dog, me, and what's up? What's up? What is going on? David Green, what's going on? Paris Pat. Jay LaFemme. Oh, Paris Pat, hello, all from Beaumont. Man. So when I first moved to Texas, I called Beaumont and got in a lot of trouble. Jay LaFlamme says I'm running a staccato P for USPSA. Nice. Texas 65. What's up? Did you get a job yet? No job yet, man. I had another interview today. I don't know. I had an interview at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is really hard to have an interview at 8 o'clock in the morning. Because, you got to get up, get ready, get coherent. So in case you guys don't know, I am actually between jobs at the moment. So I'm just kind of hanging out doing YouTube. Trying not to upset the wife because, she might cut off my allowance. I'm kidding. Yeah, I am between jobs at the moment. And just kind of hanging out. Let's go over here and look at this. Sorry, I'm trying to do a whole bunch of stuff right now, folks. Trying to get ready. We have a very, very cool guest on today. Very cool guest. I'm super excited. Uh-oh. It's not loading. Okay, hold on. We're having some technical difficulties. Let's try that. How is this? Should alone. We shall see. We'll see if this works. QZZ3. Oh, yeah. But no. Let's see. There we go. All right. So tonight's live, we are going to have the Humble Marksman on. In case you haven't watched this show, it is pretty educational. I dig it. I think it's a fantastic YouTube channel. Let me get everything here. But yeah, so tonight we are having the Humble Marksman on. It's a good friend of mine. Well, actually, no. I don't think I've only met him, I think, twice in person, but I really dig his content. And I've got to do a deep dive on his content over the last couple days. And it's pretty good stuff. So let's see. So check the chat one more time. All right. Be a server at Twin Peaks. You know what's up? That's not a bad idea. Who doesn't love going to Twin Peaks? I do love it myself. Brett J, what's going on? All right. Without further ado, folks, let's have him on the show. A round of applause for David, the Humble Marksman. What's going on, bud?
I'm just having technical difficulties tonight, so I'm on my phone right now as my computer restarts. So hopefully we'll get you some better video and audio here in a second, but trying not to be too late. So we've got
No,
the
it's
cell phone
totally
for
fine.
now.
It's totally fine. There we go. Now you're a little bit bigger.
No, that's so much better. But
Yeah.
just wait, it's going to be so much better when my actual computer works like it's supposed to, and you're going to be blown away. It's going to be so amazing.
No, it happens. It happens a lot. A lot of times people will come on and sometimes it just doesn't work.
It's funny because I use StreamYard as well, but I'm sitting there in Chrome watching the stupid little loading thing spin. I'm like, well, this is what we get. So I said not nice things about Google today. So maybe, my chickens have come home to roost now.
Look, I've been on Google's crap list for a while. I'm struggling to get videos uploaded and get monetized and all that good stuff, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that. So let's talk about the
Hey,
Humble Marksman. How did you come to that name, the Humble
so
Marksman?
fun story on that. Hold on. I'm this close to getting logged in here. I've got my laptop browser here going, or laptop browser going here.
All
Give me
right.
one
Well, I'll hop
second.
you out, and then
Yeah,
we'll
just
we can
drop
invite
me
you
here
back
and
in.
you can pick me up in a second on the computer.
All right. So hey, I got a really good show for you guys tonight. Just kidding. Just kidding. Man against the masses. What the hell? You, Dark, and Flying Rich are jobless. Yeah. Well, I've had a ton of offers to come work with some people, so I'm just kind of bidding my time. So I don't know. I'm just kind of waiting. I'm kind of waiting until I find the right fit. Because when you're in your 40s, you want to really find a good place you can put roots down and retire from and all that good stuff. When you're in your 20s, who cares? Who cares? You can job hop all you want. But, when you're adulting, you got to be a little bit more careful. So let's see, Dale. We hang out with Smash so I can work into the handicap. Yes, thank you, Dale. I appreciate that. I'll be spending all day with you tomorrow. Texan 65, is the pumpkin shoot still on? No, I couldn't make it happen this year. Man, I really wanted to have the pumpkin shoot. I just couldn't do it. I think the range wasn't too fond on having it on such short notice, and I didn't have. We'll go into that later. All right. So without further ado, now we have David, the man of the hour, the humble marksman. Hey, welcome to the show.
Now it works. Now my fancy, setup is supposed to be working. So
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that.
All right, so let's hear this cool story about your name, because I've always was kind of curious.
Yeah. So anybody who's familiar with the channel knows that it is a very tongue-in-cheek name. It is not meant to be taken seriously. It is not aspirational. It is sarcastic, and the reason for that is I am a competitive shooter. So back in like 2012 or 13, when I got started in kind of the practical shooting game, people were doing like match video analysis and stuff like that, but we didn't have all of the niceties we have now with like Google Drive and stuff like that. The only place available to store video footage, for free effectively was YouTube. So back in the day, everybody had a YouTube channel. Instagram wasn't doing video yet, any of that kind of stuff. So I was shooting predominantly IDPA at the time, and the lowest rank in IDPA at the time, this is before novice was a rank, was marksman. So at the time I was classified, I think, as expert or something like that, dangerously close to making master. So I was like, well, I'll just call it like, marksman, and, humble, because anybody who's interacted with me knows that that's not the first word that springs to mind, but it also has kind of a fun double entendre with, simple, stupid, whatever, you can make it mean it's got a bunch of meanings. So it was just a very sarcastic, sort of name. And so for all it was for the first few years of its existence was just holding my match video for these matches that I was shooting. And then I can't remember exactly what it was. It was when the Canik TP9 SFX first came out. And it was like all the channels, it was like Such and Nut and Fancy and stuff like that were like, this is a great competition gun. Well, back in the day, the Canik TP9 SFX was a crap competition gun because it didn't fit into any of the divisions as the rules were written kind of back then. It wasn't on the list in production for USPSA. For whatever reason, I can't remember what it was. It wasn't, allowed in IDPA. I think it was the slide racker. It was the slide racker that kind of threw it out of IDPA. And they kept talking about it being a great choice for that. And I was like, these guys just don't know what they're talking about. So I ended up, making some very sleepy new dad type cell phone video content and started just kind of slowly uploading it. And I mean, if anybody's watching this, like, you know what I want to do? I want to go back and watch his old catalog of videos. Just don't like.
No, it's very entertaining. I highly suggest it.
No, you can find better uses for your time. They're terrible. They're horribly made.
I can kind of tell David's a little bit of a Glockophile.
Yeah, well, I've gone through phases. I got started, like when I started making YouTube videos, I was shooting CZs, and this is back before it was hipster to be a CZ fan, like because CZs really started being popular in practical shooting in like 2009. When Angus Hobdell of CZ Customs was competing at like the national, international level with the original SP01 Shadows. And, they were importing like, I don't know, 100 or so a year. And so, I started competing with a 2012 SP01 Shadows, like back when it was cool, before it was cool. And then all the accountants and dentists in the world found out about CZs and started taking pictures of them on their laps in their BMWs to post to Facebook groups. And so, all of my content revolved around basically the guns I was competing with. So for a while it was CZs. And then when I switched to carry optics in 2018, I didn't want to spend, it's funny to talk about now, but I had 2 Shadow 2s and I didn't want to get them milled for optics because it was going to, like the optics cuts back then, there weren't very many people doing them on CZs and they were like 200 or 250 bucks a pop. I was like, I can just buy a gun rather than cut my 2 Shadows. If I decide I don't like this division or whatever, I can always just, have this extra gun and sell it or do whatever. So I bought a Glock 17 MOS used from some cop back in Georgia. And started shooting the Glock because, doing some testing, I could shoot similar scores to what I was shooting with my CZs, and it was a lot cheaper. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to shoot Glocks. So I shot Glocks for a few years, and then I started shooting Beretta for like a year. And then, it's just kind of evolved ever since. Like I used to kind of be a fanboy for whatever brands I was shooting. Now I kind of have disdain for Glocks because they haven't bothered to make like small updates to the platform that would make it better. Like
100%
ergonomics or anything. So
your first vid I saw was the XD9 versus the Glock, and you can tell how you're describing the XG. You're like, yeah, going through the motions. Then you're like, and this is the Glock. I'm like, I know what side he's on. You were definitely a little bit, but that was 10 years ago. Then you took a couple years off, and then you uploaded a lot. Your first year, just a lot of IPDA matches. With the IPSA,
IDPA, and USPSA.
USPSA. See, I am a novice here. Yeah, so my buddy in the chat, Mr. Bob, he always is trying to get me to go shoot some like Glock matches or just go start doing competition. And I shoot a lot of competition guns, but I've never shot in a competition. And I'm kind of curious to see how I would do, how bad I would do. Do they do an award?
Very humbling. It will. You don't realize how, like, it's an interesting shift that takes place because you go from thinking about like, okay, on my best day, I can do this. This is how good I am at shooting. But shooting competition where you're testing yourself constantly, you begin to look at the floor. Like, this is as bad as I can screw it up. This is how good I am at shooting. So it's you focus on what your worst possible performance is, not what your intellectually best performance is, which is a very different way of thinking about it. Because if you're not testing yourself and pushing for more, you don't tend to focus on the ones you screw up. You focus on the Instagram runs. So
I got to shoot with a competitive shooter the other day, and he was trying to show me and my buddy Mike how to shoot. Just go for the A zone. You don't have to be in the bullseye every time. And it was eye-opening. He was running like some basic drills. But let's check the chat real quick. We got JJ, again, Fluffy, Carolina. Hola, man. What's going on, buddy? A-Dubs, Mr. H, Jesus, Lucky. So I don't want to miss anybody. Just want to miss anybody. I get Can't be any worse than I am. I don't know, Bob. You're a pretty good shot, man. You're a killer with that revolver. Roger Ray, what's going on? Now, for everyone in the chat, including me, because I'm not an expert at all, can you explain the difference between a USPSA and IP? What was that other one?
So
IP,
you've
IDPA?
IDPA. So
IDPA.
you've heard of IPSC, right?
Yeah, the target.
Yeah, well, IPSC is the original International Practical Shooting Confederation. It is the original form of like, it was at the time, it was like it was Jeff Cooper from Florida Laws fame kind of got together with some folks and kind of came up with, combat shooting, which became IPSC.
Mhm.
And IPSC, it was intended to be international, and it still is. It is the international form of competitive shooting, like the at the highest level. To be the IPSC world champion, you are the best in the world. And so the US region of IPSC is actually USPSA, even though the rules they're very similar, but they're not quite the same. But USPSA kind of does its own thing, and that's because we've got much laxer gun laws than the entire rest of the world. So they're a lot more conservative, and we're a lot more progressive. As funny as that sounds, with what the rules are in USPSA, like we pioneered red dot divisions in USPSA, and about 2 years later, IPSC picked up the division of what they call production optics. We had carry optics. And right now we have limited optics, and they're getting ready to introduce limited optics, I think, next year.
What does limited optics mean?
So the problem, I'll get there. Hold on. Um, so
Don't skip
what ended
ahead.
up happening is, so Jeff Cooper and all those guys out in like Arizona and stuff like that, they were, doing like leather holsters with 1911s, and kind of the game started as like 9mm high powers versus 45 1911s. And so they kept building them up. So originally there was only one division, and you had major versus minor. So major would be like the guys shooting 45, minor was the guys shooting 9mm. And back in the days of like 8 rounds versus 13 rounds, that was pretty interesting. So there started to be kind of this arms race where it's like, now we have double stack guns, and I can get however many rounds, they could get in their magazines back in the day. And then they came up with like barrel weights, then they came up with compensators, and then they came up with a frame mounted optic back in like 1991. Jerry Barnhart was the first open shooter to have a scope on a red dot pistol. So what we consider open guns now was first started back then. And so red dots, like when competitive shooters brag and say, like, if you have a red dot on your pistol, you need to thank a competitive shooter, like that really is a thing. It didn't come from the military. It came from guys out in like the deserts of Arizona and, North Carolina and stuff like that, actually like pushing the limits of what was possible, because these guys, I mean, they were breaking guns left, right, and center, trying to figure out how to make major with a, skinny bullet like a 9mm. So they're blowing guns up all the time. And the metallurgy got a lot better. Bull barrels and like thicker barrels, heavy
Right.
barrels became more standard, those kinds of things. And around the late 90s, Bill Wilson of Wilson Combat fame, who just wanted, he was, a world-renowned pistol smith on 1911s, was kind of starting to lose out to the high cap stuff. And so they just wanted a standard division where like off the shelf Glocks and off the shelf, 1911s could be competitive. So they ended up starting the International Defensive Pistol Association. So if you read the rule books for both sports, USPSA, which is United States Practical Shooting Association, and International Offensive Pistol Association, one of them reads very much like this is supposed to be like self-defense training, and one of them is like, this is a race. These are the parameters of what you need to do if you want to come race. And that's very much, I would say, how the sports are kind of like, my USPSA belt looks like Batman's utility belt. My IDPA belt looks like standard like belt ride gear that maybe a cop would have potentially. So, and what's interesting is, while competitive shooters can be tastemakers, I like to think CZs kind of became, popular, not because of competition shooters, but like a lot of competitive shooters work in gun shops, and people ask them questions like, well, which guns do you like? It's like, I like the CZs, those kinds of things. Like I found out about CZs because guys who worked in the gun shop that were competitive shooters back in the day. And I think that did have a lot to do with it. But so back to your question of carry optics versus limited optics. For the past few years, people have been complaining that like a basic staccato doesn't really have a home with 9mm in USPSA. They do. There are 2 divisions you can shoot them in. They're just not competitive in either. Like, one division is for 2011s, but it's iron sighted and in 40. It has to be 40 caliber to get maximum points. So everybody who doesn't want to shoot 40 caliber because they got 2 brain cells to rub together, you know, they've been complaining, and it was like, there's nowhere for my 9mm 2011s to compete, you know, and actually be competitive. And so then everybody started putting red dots on the pistol. Like, carry optics basically took over the sport. It's like, I want to say like 50% of the people shooting competition are shooting in carry optics division, and then 20% are shooting in open division. So between those 2 divisions, like 70% of the sport or so is represented by some kind of dot gun. And
now, do you run into people that still fight the red dot revolution? They're like, I don't just use irons. I don't like red.
Oh yeah, those people are out there. Or I mean, there are people like, it's weird because there is kind of like the desire to, like, it's not just red dots, but also, like, if you want to shoot a basic, like, off the shelf gun, like a Glock 17 with no red dot, you have to shoot it low cap. So you have 10 round mags. You have to have like 4 magazines on your belt. It's a pain in the butt in USPSA. And so they're kind of running into trouble with that because people don't like the low cap mechanic, but they want to shoot irons, and they can't. So, and like, you can't shoot just a basic 9mm staccato in the Glock division because, you know, I guess it's unfair, at least as some people like to think about it. But, you know, you've probably seen the name Nils Jonasson. He's a competitive shooter for Canik. He's won the 2011 division, I think, 2 times now, shooting a Canik with 9mm, which you're not supposed to be able to do. Shane Coley has won it shooting a Glock 35 a couple times now. So, like, the argument that they don't hang is not true. It very much comes down to shooter skill ultimately. But limited optics is basically, if you've got a staccato P with a red dot on it, that's your division. You get 140mm magazines, which basically means a 23 round mag. So you get 23 round mags and your, you know, 2011 with a red dot, no compensator. If you put a compensator on there, now it's an open gun, and it's not very competitive in open.
Now, is there a difference between a frame mounted red dot and a slide mounted red dot? Are there
huge difference? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big difference.
The one's an open division, right? If it's on the frame.
Yeah, open is frame mount, and there's a lot less dot movement. Like, I would say maybe half to a third as much dot movement on a frame mount with a compensator versus a slide ride. Like, the dot is going close to the top of the shroud with a good grip on, you know, a slide ride gun. Whereas with a frame mount with a compensator, the dot maybe climbs to the head box.
Right.
Like, it's not even getting close to the top of the window.
All right, let's check the chat one more time. Got Fluffy in here. Andy Cigars. I like that. I like that name.
Here we go.
Joe Little became a channel member. Man, that means a lot. Channel members mean the world. So thank you so much, Joe. I really, really appreciate it. And Christmas presents are going out for the channel members in a few weeks. So I don't mess around with that. I got good stuff. Hey, Zeus, Bob Goodwin. Oh, John Crump Live. What's going on, bud? Mr. Big Kid. Well, look at this. We got celebrities in the house. Wow. Big Johnson. All the pressure now. All the pressure.
You're a cool guy. People want to come hang out with you, man.
Didn't we meet in person at Primary Arms?
Mm-hmm. The very first time, like way back. That was like 2020.
Yeah, we had lunch together. We sat there and chatted for a little bit. And then you're like, oh, I kind of do YouTube stuff too. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I looked you up and was like, dude, got 100,000 subscribers. Kind of does YouTube. That's a lot.
Well, I mean, you think it is till you're there, and then you're like, the guy with 1 million, like, that's a lot. And it's, I mean, being like 10,000 versus being 100,000, it really comes down to views a month. Like, in, you know, long form content views is really the metric that matters. Subscribers make you feel good and get you the silver play button, but you know, views is what ultimately pays the bills. So
yeah, the views is funny because there's a lot of people. You see those videos. I have how much does 1,000 subscribers on YouTube pay?
Zero.
Nothing. You can't go by that metric.
Videos, you get nothing.
It's views. It's views.
Right. And I mean,
so how did you get into guns? Were you always a gun person? Did you grow up with guns?
No, my I'm the son of an architect, and we were above that, I guess. I don't know. I always liked gun video games, like back in the arcades. If you remember the old like Time Crisis and House of the Dead type games, Area
Yeah.
51, like those were I always sunk my money in the arcade, specifically the pistol games. I like the pistol games more than the rifle games back in the day. And then when I got out of college and all this kind of stuff, I was starting to look for hobbies. Like I got to find some hobbies that aren't just going to bars and doing stupid stuff with my buddies. So, did guitars for a little bit, and that was cool. And then, had a kid, and making the ability to make a lot of noise was sort of taken from me. And around that same
Yeah.
time, I saw like the first hat cams from a USPSA match I'd ever seen. I was like, this looks like video games. This looks amazing. And then I just kind of didn't think about it. And then after Aurora, President Obama at the time was threatening to take executive action against guns and do all this stuff. So there was a huge run on guns. It was like the first really big run on guns, at least since I've been paying attention. And I, no different than anybody else, went out and got my XD9 service.
Great
And I was
gun,
like,
by the way. Fantastic gun.
it is a good gun. I sold that gun, and I am sad that I sold it. I wish I still had it. I still got a couple XDs in the safe now, but I shoot XDs really well. You guys can make fun of me in chat all you want. I think they're fine. But at the range that I was going to like learn how to shoot, I was like, well, I got these things. I better learn how to shoot them, And they had this range had like the monitors going back before. That was like the cool thing to do. And they ran a weekly IDPA match, and every Thursday night, there'd be about 30 guys would get together and have this. They only had 2 bays indoors, but they would, build like 2 stages and then modify them slightly. So you got to shoot like 4 stages in 2 hours, and everybody go next door to the Mexican restaurant and drink beer and eat Mexican food afterwards. So it was like a great social experience and all that kind of stuff. So got started. I was broke, a young dad, my mid 20s or whatever. So I go out like once a month, and then once a month started being like every other week as I got paid, and I was shooting a little bit more. Then I became the match director, and part of the match director's compensation was if you were setting it up, they gave you a box of ammo and you shot for free.
What?
So yeah. So like the match would be about
Hey.
50 rounds, and they would give you 50 rounds. So it was just like, well, so then I started going every week and shooting that and building the matches and stuff. And that went on for a few years. And, and then just got more and more into it, and started shooting USPSA, because USPSA is like the deep end of the competition shooting world. So
Wait a minute. So you got into guns and almost went straight into competition.
let me think about that. Yeah, that's about right. About 6 months into owning my first pistol, started shooting competitions. And I mean, I didn't dive in. Like I was doing it inexpensively, like the cheapest way possible. Like there's these guys now who get into it because there's so much more information on the internet about it, and they'll come up to their first matches with like $1,500 competition guns, full built race belts, all the right equipment and stuff like that. Like
I know it.
everybody back in the day would show up with like Uncle Mike's nylon holsters and like reloading from their pockets and crap like that. Nobody does that anymore. So like just the amount of gun content on the net is just exploded.
It's massive.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very competitive niche is the other side. Like that's what people don't realize is like, it's very difficult to stand out and be competitive because they end up funneling all the traffic to like the top, like 3 or 4, results or whatever. So like the TFB TVs and Garand thumbs kind of suck up all of the web traffic. And then, we fight over the scraps effectively. So,
yeah, well, that's on YouTube in general on the gun too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Everybody in the chat, man, if you guys are not subscribed to the Humble Marksman, what are you doing with your life? I put a link to his channel in the description or in the chat. So make sure you open a new window. Don't click off this one. Like and subscribe to his channel. If you're not a subscriber to mine, please like and subscribe to mine. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah. Anybody else in the chat? Got TNT.
This is the only guy with a Gerson 2311 video on the internet right now, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you know what sucks? I'm going to skip ahead. I just did a comparison with that Gerson 2311, and I just had to delete the whole thing because of your video. Oh, so let's
I don't have a 2311, so I don't know.
I know,
what you're
but you did a video here. I'll share my screen. You did a video on here. Let me share this. I'm skipping ahead, folks. I'm skipping ahead. I'm sharing screens. Hold on, entire screen. I did a comparison between the Bull Armory and the Gerson. I had it completely edited, and I was almost going to post it tomorrow. I was very excited. And then I watched your video on, do flashlights make a difference in muzzle rise? And I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, they do. It's a frame
They
weight,
do.
dude.
And I was like, no, they don't. And I watched your video yesterday, and I'm like, God damn it. So I can't in good conscience post this video knowing that one of them, because the Bull Armory is it's a great gun, but it did feel more controllable. And now I don't know, was it the flashlight or wasn't the flashlight?
100% it's the flashlight. If the guns weigh about the same, like unless the grip on the bull just fits your hand a lot better, then they should jump about the same. Like it's just physics. Like if one gun locks into your hand better, then maybe it doesn't climb as much. But generally speaking, like if the slides weigh about the same, their springing setup is about the same, they should be about the same as far as perceived
The grip
recoil.
texture on the Bull is better.
Yep.
And that's about it. The trigger's a little bit better. But other than that,
the Gerson's a bushing gun, isn't it?
What's that?
It's a bushing gun, isn't it? The Gerson?
Yeah.
So you've got the bull barrel on the bull, which is a little bit of extra, weight. So maybe it is a little bit like noticeably a little bit less.
So I picked up this. I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and throw a flashlight on there. They weigh the same. Now they're going to weigh almost identical. So yeah, thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. No, actually, I'm really glad that I watched that video because I would have posted it in the first 25 comments, like one has a flashlight and one doesn't. What a loser. You don't even know what you're doing. So yeah.
When I first started screwing around with weapon mounted lights, I was amazed. Just like, wow, my gun doesn't jump as much. This is wonderful. And I don't use them anymore.
Lights on everything now. Lights are going on everything now.
What was funny is when I was coming up with the concept for that video, I'm like every once in a while I chat with Scott Jedlinski from Modern Samurai Project. And I was like, hey man, I have this theory and I want you to validate it for me. He's like, oh yeah, what's that? He's like, all these tacta bros who, like aren't really, doing anything at night that require lights or anything like that, but they're doing demos in front of a live, class. Are they doing it just because it's easier to look cool with the weapon mounted light on the gun? He's like, I don't know that I come right out and say that. He's like, but I will tell you this. I do use Petzl grip enhancement before doing my demos. And so like he told me, and he advocates for it all over his Instagram. So not like, throwing dirt at Scott or anything like that. He tries to encourage people to use the stuff. But I mean, he's like, yeah, the lights help make it easy to look cool. And having the dry hands, like if you've never used grip enhancer before, it's like a superpower, especially on slippery polymer guns. Like if you get some Petzl or whatever your favorite, dry hand type, lifter's chalk, whatever, your hands stay glued to the gun like Velcro, and it's a lot more controllable.
Yeah, I was shooting with my buddy who shoots a lot of matches, and he had chalk, and he pulled out chalk, and he had chalk on his hand. We're like, man, you take it a little.
Was that Jake? I saw Jake in one of your videos,
Jake,
I believe. Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything, but he also had that something lube, Freedom Lube or whatever. Jake's a trip, man. Do you know him?
Yeah. So I met Jake at a match about 2 years. Fun story about Jake. We ended up parking in the parking lot next to each other at Dragon's Cup 2.0, which is out in Odessa. And me and my buddy Paul, the gentleman gunner here on YouTube, Paul is a bit of a knucklehead and used to drive race cars. So he had this rental car that he was kind of ragging out. Out on the road, out to the range, there are speed bumps, which you can't see because they're made out of the same dirt the road is made out of.
Right.
And so he hits one of these going like 45 miles an hour, and we're pretty sure cracked a rim. So we come out of the match, getting ready. We got to go catch a flight at the airport that night, and the tire is like on the rim. It's totally gone. And so Jake, who happened to be at his car next to us, is like, "Hey man, I got a tire pump." So I borrowed a tire pump from Jake, and we were able to pump up the car to get to the gas station to buy Fix-A-Flat to turn the rental car back in and hopefully not get fined and go home. So Jake helped us, stick it to the man.
That sounds like Jake. Jake's a really, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, I've seen him in a couple matches, honestly, like because he's down there in kind of, I guess you call that what, Central Texas.
Yeah, well, he's moving to Austin now, so.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, okay. I think he already moved. I'm not sure, but yeah, he was having me and my buddy Mike run a couple drills, and it was eye-opening. Double tap is easy, but that third, fourth, fifth shot in a row, really fast.
Grip starts to fail.
It's tough. Double taps are a piece of cake, but after that, your pattern my pattern widens way out. But now that I'm gonna put flashlights on everything, I think I'm gonna be much better.
There you go. Get you some grip chalk, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So do you watch any? Because like for me, I don't watch a lot of YouTubers, and I came across your channel because one, we hung out that one time, and then two, when I did my Masterpiece Arms video, which failed horribly, no one watched it.
Oh no.
There was hardly anybody else that had a Masterpiece on their channel. How did you get hooked up with those guys?
How did I get? I'm trying to remember how. Somehow they got put on my radar. I don't remember exactly. Oh, okay. I remember now. So I shot nationals, I guess it was 2 years ago, with David Lyle, who is the product manager for their DS9 series of pistols. And so that was right before he came on board at Masterpiece. And I saw like a press release or something that he came on board. And, we were chatting back then, and I was like, hey, you're doing these guns now. I shot with you at nationals or whatever. I'd love to get you some exposure. I've got this YouTube channel. Send out a T&E gun or whatever, and I'll do a video for you guys. I think it should be because it was the same time IDPA changed their rules in carry optics to allow like 5-inch bull barrel guns to be legal where they weren't before then. And he's like, yeah, we're actually coming up with an IDPA variant that's legal. Like, I'll send you one of those and you can, do some content with it. So we did that. And, I got exposed to their guns. Their guns are fantastic. They're really, really good guns for a very fair price. And,
what's funny, I tell my buddy Mike all the time, because I was a few years ago, I was that mindset guy where I would never pay over $1,000 for a gun. What a waste of money. My $600 gun will do everything these $3,000 guns. Because I was an idiot and I didn't know any better, right? So my buddy Mike puts a Checkmate Parrot in my hands. And he goes, okay, you shoot this XD and then you shoot this Parrot and you tell me what you shoot better. I have never shot so well in my life. That gun changed my life. And that gun I thought was so expensive at the time, and now it's a bargain.
Yeah, that's a reasonably priced open gun.
Yeah, because it's like $3,000. That's crazy. And now I just put a down payment on a Atlas like a couple months ago. And
Atlas. So I remember when Atlas got started, and they were a 3,000, semi-custom gun builder, the same as Masterpiece. So like I have a soft spot for these builders because I think there's a real demand for like kind of that craftsman style gun that is like truly like, I mean, realistically, it's like being a car guy. Like, you're going to end up with either a classic car or like some kind of like sports car at some point or another. And realistically, nothing hangs with the 2011 as far as an enthusiast pistol is concerned. Like you can say
awesome.
Yeah. They're on a different wavelength. And it's not necessarily that they shoot a bunch better, although it's easier. Like you can take, if the same amount of skill gets you like B+ results out of a 2011, it might get you like C+, maybe B- results out of a hinge trigger design that's a little bit harder to stabilize. So I mean they do cover up sins pretty nicely, so it's very easy to be a fan of them. But realistically, like once you live with the 2011 and have to go through the maintenance and stuff like that, taking apart a CZ really, really, really sucks. Like it is horrible. Even when you know how to do it, it only takes you like 30 minutes to tear it down and put it back together. Like if you know how to take down a 2011 and put a 2011 back together, like it's like a 10-minute operation.
Yeah, it's super easy. Better. So it's like it's funny because I watched your Parrot video too, where you have to unscrew the barrel, the comp, and it is a pain in the ass. Yeah. And then like the Masterpiece, I'm like, this is the best gun ever. And then I shot the Atlas Athena, and I'm like, holy shit, this is the best gun ever. and then I shot the
Don't touch an
Urbis.
Infinity.
See, don't do that to me, man.
Just don't touch one, man. I'm just saying.
Don't do it. An Infinity is better than an Atlas Urbis. I mean, come on,
they are. I mean, so the difference between an Erebus and Infinity is that Infinity does require some fire fitting. Like they intentionally oversize it. Like an Atlas is going to work completely out of the box. If you get an Infinity, depending on the finish you specify and whatever, but the difference is that as the guns get shot in, they do kind of loosen up, right? Well, an Infinity with like tens of thousands of rounds on it still feels really, really, really tight. Like it's just like, how many rounds are on this gun? Like, I don't know, 20,000. It's just like, I can't believe you just said that. This gun feels like a new, any other, brand X gun, whatever it is. Like Infinities, like whatever the difference between a Masterpiece and an Atlas is, like there's that gap again to an Infinity. But like the problem is like you're going 2x from a Masterpiece to an Atlas. Again, you're going nearly 2x, now 1.5, call it, to get up to the Infinity. I do not have an Infinity tattoo, Johnson. That is not true. In my last video, I made a jab at guys who like the Infinity guys because, I shoot with some guys here in the DFW because Infinity is basically based out of DFW. So a lot of the guys who I shoot with, like some of them have Infinity tattoos, like an Infinity guns tattoo. So the joke was that if they have one, it's because they have more than one. Like
as long as they don't put it on their lower back.
Well, that was the joke. Is they might not be able to show you where the other one is, but they've got more than one.
So, damn,
that Infinities are stupid nice.
The Urbis was unreal. I can't imagine a gun being any smoother than that.
The Infinity open guns, they're just obscene. They're really, really, really nicely made, and wow. I mean they're constantly changing stuff there. Like it's not just all the same stuff. They've got different breech face and extractor setups and all this kind of stuff. And like I say, because the guns are so tight, depending on the lube package that you use and how they come, like it may take a little bit of a break-in period to get them to be 100% reliable.
You mean like lube?
They make the guns so tight that, and I'll just, I'll say it, Infinity doesn't like, heresy based around the recommendations on lube, but I know enough Infinity shooters who do this. I don't own an Infinity, so they can't get mad at me. But they come with a very light grease on the frame and slide. And because the guns are so tight, there's just not the clearance in the gun to really accommodate the grease package. So all the guys I know who have Infinities and get them, working in very short order, stop using the grease that comes with the gun and just start using like very good quality oils. And
so there's a break-in period.
There is, especially if you use the grease. Yeah.
Okay. But, all right. So I buy an Infinity. MSRP is about $8,000, right? $9,000.
It depends what you want to do. It's a totally custom gun.
All right.
So if you get a pretty basic one, if you get a pretty, I think if you get a limited optics setup like a Athena, I think you're going to be 6 or 7. And if you get like an open gun type deal, it's going to be like 9.
Wow. So how many rounds down that barrel do I have to do before it's broken in?
It depends on, it just depends on the
right,
specific gun too. Like they're hand-built things.
Channel, I bought a custom-made 2011 and I got it. And the builder said it was just so tight. It's so tight. And it was the biggest piece of shit. I put close to 900 rounds down it. I put 5, then I sent it back because for one, you couldn't even rack the slide. And he goes, oh, it's tight. The Cerakote has to wear in this and that. I'm like, it was a painful, and I got it all on video. I'm not going to mention names, but it was the most painful experience I ever went through. It was embarrassing to shoot it. It looked gorgeous, but it was a piece of junk. Sent it back, got it back, and it still wouldn't work. And so I just got my money back for it. It was terrible. It was a terrible gun. And his excuse was, it's just so tight. I'm like, look, but 900 rounds of, 900 rounds of 9mm is not cheap to break in a gun. He goes, oh, it'll last forever once it's broken in. But how long is that going to take?
Yeah.
It was terrible.
It's, like I say, it just depends on the gun, the finishes you get and all that kind of stuff. But I do, got people who I trust say, stop using grease and start using, oil, and the guns will start, they'll break in faster. So yeah, but I mean, it's a different piece of equipment.
I have to use anti-seize on one of my pew pew, or it will destroy itself. Well, Super Geo Killer, you're an AK guy. I'm surprised you use anything but spit.
Yeah, just tears
Spin
of
it.
your enemies.
So you're up in Dallas, right?
Yes, sir.
How do you like it up there, man? Are you born and raised in Texas?
No, I'm actually from Georgia originally. So we got here about 5 years ago. It's hot during the summer. It's really hot. It sucks, but I really like the people. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to kind of live professionally. So the traffic's not as bad as Houston or Austin. So there's that. But,
or the humidity, because you said it's hot. I'm like, it's not that hot in Dallas. Houston, it's dirty.
Well, it's pretty darn hot, man. I mean, we were getting up to like 108 to 110, but it's only like 30% humidity because like it doesn't rain in the summer up here. So when the wind blows, like your sweat evaporates. It feels probably 10 degrees cooler than it is. But I mean, the sun, the UV is so intense up here. Like if you leave a mag on like a bench or something in the sun, after a couple minutes, it's too hot to touch.
Oh wow!
The sun will take it out of you. So like people will give me crap because in some of my videos I'll be wearing like leggings effectively and like a solar hoodie. But that's the play out here because, it's wicking material. So it takes the moisture, spreads it around on your skin. So when the wind hits it, you feel cool and you don't have the UV, burning you from the face of the earth. So.
Oh, I know it. So let me ask you another question. Do you still think a SRO is an ugly optic? Because I saw that video too. I'm like, oh. So that was kind of clickbaity. But I was like,
well, back in the day, so that was the first of like the cantilever optic. Like that was the first.
You said it looked like a beluga whale.
It does.
It does.
It does. It's not my favorite from a like looks perspective. I don't really care that much about it. I'm to a point now where I'm used to looking at them and like I prefer the way they look to most of these mailbox style optics. Like an acro is probably one of the ugliest optics now. I just gotten so used to kind of the profile of a traditional reflex sight, and then here's the SRO, like all like crazy rounded triangle looking thing sticking off the gun. And but it's a fantastic optic. It's probably going to be relevant, for years still. It's good enough, and it's very, very durable. So it's a winning combination.
I tell you what, since you're here, I want to share this picture with you and the chat. I just picked up 2 guns from a Cerakoter, and I got them both milled for optics. The first one is an ugly gun. It's an ugly giant pig of a gun. It's the Rock Island Armory 45 TAC Ultra. A big 45, ugly, gnarly, gross gun. And I love it. I love it.
Okay.
So I had that one Cerakoted, and I also had a SIG TAC Ops 10 millimeter that was all black, and I put an idiot scratch in it. I always really felt dumb. And now I realize why they call it an idiot scratch. Because you're an idiot when you do it. But man, look, I wanted to really show. So I got these guns back today. Well, a day ago. But check it out. Let me share the screen. Let me share this screen. Very cool. I'm just trying to brag. So that the gold one.
Look at those guys.
So they milled them both for RMARs. And this used to be all black, and then they did like a really cool gold with faded accents. I mean, the Cerakote job on this is unreal, and it's smooth. There's no bumps or ridges on it at all. I mean, it is so smooth. I don't know how
they both look gorgeous.
This one is a little goofy looking, the TAC Ultra, so I dropped this one off. I'm like, look, I don't care what color it is as long as it's not pink. Just whatever. You do whatever you want.
It almost looks like a Stealth Arms platypus with how people have been like specking those out and what they did with all the colors.
Kind of. That was my biggest hang up between the 45, the Rock Island Armory 45, no optic. I mean, come on. So now it's RMR optic. It has a Trijicon saddle on it. I put this Siley Bear. And then the Cerakote job is so cool. I love this Cerakote job. It's really goofy and cool. My son loves it. He's 10. He's like, oh my God, can I have that when you die? I'm like, thanks, son. Yes, you can have that.
Well,
But
Dale in chat thinks your boyfriend will love them.
well, Dale is kind of a schmo sometimes. Thank you, Dale.
I think those are gorgeous guns. I'm curious how you like the Siley Bear. The Sileys have been kind of a surprise. I didn't, they made a big push and reached out to a bunch of YouTubers, and I was no different. After the 50th attempt, I was like, fine, just send the dots. I'll check them out. Like,
See, I've been buying Siley rifle red dots for a long time because it was the first budget $80 shake awake rifle red dot. So, I mean, heck, they reached out to me almost when I started my gun tube career, and I've been working with those guys for a long time. And they're very easy to work with, very cool. They don't ask a lot. They'll just ping you every couple months, like, hey, do you need anything? Whatever you want. And I buy a ton of Siley optics. So like when I do the meet and greets and whatnot, I'll usually give away 3 or 4 of those optics and just have a good time. It's just a tool. Yes, but it's nice if the tool looks good, Dale.
They are very pretty now. You did a good job.
Actually, that Sig Nightmare, that gold, oh my God, that thing is ridiculous. I'm really loving that one.
The Nightmares are probably one of my favorite, like off the shelf models from them. They're very pretty.
Yeah, it comes with 4 mags, 10 mil. I mean, I love 10 millimeter. Oh, and let me show you one other thing.
I'll if you are somebody who collects challenge coins, pay attention this Thursday.
Really? What's going on Thursday?
And we find out on Thursday.
All right.
There may be an opportunity for more challenge coins.
All right. So I'm going to share one more thing. So I'm sitting with my buddy Mike. So I have this buddy out here, Mike. He has a lot of cool guns, and I'm very lucky that he lets me, half the cool guns on my channel are his guns. And we're sitting there at the gun range, and he goes, hey, man, check out that optic. It would match your SIG perfectly. I go, well, I can't afford it. And he goes, let's just look at it. So he takes it, he puts it on the optic, and he puts it on the what do you call it? The gun, and he's right. I mean, it fits perfectly.
Ooh.
The only thing it didn't fit was my budget. Yeah. But look, it's almost like it was made for it.
That's just one of the regular RMRs. That's not one of the that looks pretty sharp.
But it looks like it was, so I had to get it. God dang it. So now I'm broke. Broke.
That's painful when that happens.
I think it's worth it. It was very cool.
It does fit very well.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite optic? If all the pistol dots you've shot, what's your favorite one?
I like the SRO, man. I really dig that one. I have it on a couple pistols, and I've dropped it actually a few times and it hasn't broken. So like I've always was scared if I dropped it would break. And knock on wood, so far, so good. It doesn't look that sturdy, but so far I've dropped it a couple times in the dirt and it's held up.
It's a pretty good value play in that regard, because I mean it's a huge window and it's still pretty darn rugged.
Yeah, I think Gideon Optics has a SRO like optic they just came out with for like $250. It's quite a bit cheaper.
That was fun talking to the dude at TriggerCon. It was like, so what's special about these? Like, well, they're good optics and they're about $200.
Yeah,
okay, Mike. Well, at least you know your value proposition. Like, all right.
It's true though, because like, look, if you got I tell people like this: if you have a safe full of guns, can you put a Trigicon on every single one, or $400 or $500? No, that's stupid. That's not practical. But if it's your carry gun and your life depends on it, you want the best optic available. If it's just a gun that's going to go in the safe, it's going to be a range toy. You don't care if the battery might die. I mean, it's not, your life's not depending on it. Don't spend that kind of money. As long as it holds zero and it's pretty good, fine. So far, the Siley ones have held up pretty good. I've had this Judge from Gideon. Yeah, he sent this to me. That one's real easy to zero, holds, shake awake. Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, I didn't spend enough time with him, so I didn't get a goodie bag like some of you guys got at
he lives in Houston.
Does he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's like, so when I met him, he pulls up on his Harley. He goes, "What's up, man?" This dude's a trip.
Hey,
Yeah.
wait, shouldn't we be mad at each other right now? The Rangers and the Astros are playing, I believe.
You know what? I don't know. I think is it what game is it? Is it game
It's the
6?
it's the yeah, it's the final one. It's the 3-3 whoa. I just pulled up the score. That can't be right.
Who's winning?
Dude, it's 8-2.
Is Astros
Rangers.
winning?
Rangers.
Oh man, people in Houston are gonna flip out.
Let me see. I want to make sure that's right. It's the end of the 4th inning, and it's 8-2. What the heck, man? This is a softball game.
Let me tell you guys, in Houston, Texas, the Astros are gods. Like it is. We have a
There's
Go Astro
Mattress
Day.
Mac and his
Yeah,
his
we have a
bed
Go
every
Astro
year.
Day. If you don't wear
Yeah.
Astro shit, people look at you like, "Oh, you're not from here." I had to
No,
go out and go buy an Astro shirt just to go to a company meeting once because everyone had their Astro polos on, and I was like, "Oh, mine's in the car." I run into Academy real quick.
right. Yeah. I mean, I have a Rangers hat and a Rangers shirt, but I wear my tacos shirt. It looks like the Texas Rangers like font, but it just says tacos. I wear that a lot.
Yeah, that's a good one. So you had another video. Let's keep talking about guns because this is a
Okay.
good conversation. Can
We're
a
losing
Glock
we're losing the
43X compete with a 2311 or a 2011? And
yeah.
I knew it couldn't. And then I watched the video and I was like, God dang it, maybe it can.
I mean, realistically, if you gave me that same gun, like, and I got to compete against myself with that little, I mean, I still got it, but the little 43X with the compensator and the 20 round magazines versus like my current open gun, I would stomp the crap out of myself. Like, the difference is, like, I'm a 3 division master in USPSA. So I could
So what are
win,
those
like,
levels? You have marksman.
so it starts in USPSA, it's actually DCA. Then master used to be the highest rank, but the people winning nationals were beating the crap out of the lower masters, so they introduced grandmaster. So like they use the scoring works is they have these standard like people like to call them qualifiers, actually called classifiers. So they will take these classifiers and they will average the 10 best scores anyone has ever shot on them to come
Mhm.
up with what they call a high hit factor. And that's basically the points you shot divided by the time it took you to shoot them in. So it's like an efficiency rating. So the highest hit factor is 100%. And anything between 95% and 100% is considered a grandmaster score. Anything between 85% and 95% is a master score. And it just kind of goes down from there. And
All right.
it correlates roughly with like the percentage of people who are shooting the game. Like there's about 5% of the population is master or grandmasters, and about 10% of the population is grandmaster or master. Sorry. And so it's like the people who are setting those high hit factors are professional shooters. Like it's the guys from the Army marksmanship units and the guys who just have, JJ Rakaza, those kinds of guys who are shooting for a living. So the scores they shoot are absolutely insane. And so being a master is, I mean, it's good enough to win local matches. You're starting to stretch getting into like state matches. I won my first state match earlier this year. So like, but you start to kind of fall off at area. That's where the grandmasters kind of step in and run away with it. And then at nationals, obviously it's grandmasters winning it.
Yeah. So when the
So
Special Olympics has a USPSA match, I'll put my helmet on. I'll
there we go. So be like, at the time I shot that match, there were, a couple of grandmasters in our club and, only a half dozen or so masters. So depending on who showed up, I knew I had a very good chance of finishing like top 5, top 10 at the worst with that gun and that setup. So
He got 6, right? He came in 6th.
yeah. So it was, a pretty good showing for me with that little baby gun. But I mean, if I got to run that gun versus my current race gun, I would have,
Decimate.
yeah.
Yeah. So you also had a question during that video where you're like, you asked the audience, how many of you guys would carry a tricked out 43X as your carry gun? And I was like, no, that's what you, because I just had a conversation with the armed attorneys, and they're like, no, you want a stock gun as your carry gun, because if you trick it out and have it all juiced up and flick, it makes it, depending how they spin it, they can make you look like you want to go out looking for trouble. They go, if you want a gun, buy it and keep it as close to stock as possible off the shelf.
Yeah,
right?
I've heard that advice, and I think there probably is wisdom in it. But at the same time, wouldn't you love the opportunity to defend yourself in court because you were prevailed in a deadly force encounter?
That's the next one. Yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah, I carried that gun for a while like that, but I generally carry stock guns now. I don't mess with the guns beyond the sights that I put on them, and I call it good for now. So I kind of fall into that same camp, and it's not so much because I'm worried about the legality, although I am. I mean, I've got the CHL insurance or whatever it is,
right?
But Texas Law Shield, but at the same time, it's just it's a lot of silliness to be carrying, so I don't do it anymore. But a lot of people do carry that kind of stuff now. Like a lot of people are carrying this.
Like
at the time I made that video,
if I need holsters, he goes, you don't even can make a holster for a suppressor. He wants to carry his Canic suppress as a carry gun. I'm like, no, man, don't
do that.
A little, yeah. I was like, don't do that. Hey, so another great video, because I know Curtis from VSO Gun Channel pretty well, and that was the best video I saw. And then I saw his comment at the top, and for him to acknowledge it, just being really cool, I was like, wow.
Yeah, he's a classy guy. He took the criticism well. I mean,
have you hung out with him since then?
I've never hung out with him or met the guy, period. But I've been kind of like Team Red Dot for since 2018 or whenever I first kind of got my first Red Dot.
Yeah,
and it was very clear to me that he was making comments that were not from actual experience. Like anybody who spent enough time with the Red Dot to learn how to actually use them would not say the things he's saying, because they're false.
Do a quick recap for everybody.
So he made a video about how basically red dots were for noobs and people who need a crutch and those kinds of things. And I made a rebuttal video taking him kind of point by point about, like, you can make that point, but that's a very like surface tops of the wave point. If you dive deeper and really get into, what it means, like he was making criticism about using like iron sights, like artillery sights to make shots like 300 yards. I'm like, no, don't be shooting at 300 yards. It's just straight up irresponsible, man, especially with the pistol. And he's talking about that. He was saying that it becomes a crutch and people don't learn how to aim. And I made the counterpoint that like using a red dot actually speeds up your development as an iron sight shooter, because it makes you aware of how the muzzle is moving and what your sight picture actually looks like. Because as somebody who came up with irons, it takes a very long time to learn how to read your sights very precisely. Like a lot of people don't understand why they can't shoot all X-ring bullseyes with iron sights. And it's because the sights are moving and you don't have them aligned very well. But unless you're focusing very intently on what that sight picture looks like and very sensitive to the light gaps on either side, you're just not aware that the thing's not there. Well, red dot screams at you like, hey, dum-dum, the sights are moving and they're not where you want them to be.
Yeah.
So like once you're aware of it and you're tuned into that, it's easier to see that on the front sight because you're used to seeing the sight move around. And similarly, like, is it the sight picture that's wrong or is it your trigger pull? Because the red dot will show you when you jerk a shot in a way that iron sights do not. Like you'll see the dot down to the left up.
And yeah, so that was like 3 years ago. I'm sure he's gotten over it. But man, I hung out with them. Where were we? It wasn't TriggerCon. Oh, it was at IV88. And man, he is such a funny guy. You guys get along really well. He's cool as shit. Like he is.
I'm not throwing rocks at that guy. A lot of people like sent me messages and stuff. I'm glad you're taking that guy down. I was like, look, dude, like I don't know the guy. He seems pretty, respectful or whatever. But
he's pretty cool guy though. I think.
I'm sure he is. Like I have no ill will against him, but at the same time, like in the same way that I started making YouTube videos because people were saying bad things about competition or the wrong things about competition guns, I was like, I gotta stand up for the honor of red dot sights everywhere. So I white knighted red dots as a aiming solution.
Fluffy in the chat says, I'm just learning red dots on pistols. And you know what, man? I fought it for a while. And then I got older. And it's a lot easier to shoot with a red dot. It took me 4 or 5 range visits before I got comfortable where I could shoot them, without fishing around. Because that's really hard when you first start shooting red dots.
Oh, yeah.
Around. But
so Big Johnson Guns and Gear, who was in chat earlier, like when we first started talking, probably, I don't know, 6 or so years ago, before I started shooting red dots, he would make fun of me originally for red dots. And if you listen to him talk about them now, it's like he was born with one in his hand. And that's how, once you understand how they work and how you can use them, I mean, it makes, to me, like a pistol with a red dot is significantly more effective than just a pistol. Like pistol with iron sights still works, still pokes holes, but a pistol with a red dot, you can get precision in a way you cannot with iron sights, at least in mere mortars.
Well, let me ask you a question. Here's my hypothesis, because I always shoot low left unless I shoot my pistol red dot. Then I'm in the middle every time. So if you're not a good shot with irons, can using a pistol red dot reinforce shitty shooting habits?
Oh, absolutely. If you zero your dots.
When I shoot my buddy's pistols, I'm low left still. But when I shoot mine, man, I'm drilling it right in the middle. So
if you zero your guns to accommodate bad technique and you're just amazingly consistent with bad technique, like you will have a gun that makes your technique work, but at the same time, it conceals it. See, Johnson's still here. What's up, Johnson? Big Johnson's got a YouTube channel as well. You can check him out.
Absolutely. All right, guys, if you're not a subscriber to The Humble Marksman, please, I just put a link to his channel below in the chat. Please open a new window, like, subscribe to his channel. He'd greatly appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber to mine, please subscribe to mine. I'm always appreciating it. So Mason Williams in the chat has a question. Opinion on the current state of USPSA. Is there some drama going on, or?
Yeah, there's drama going on. This is not the right place to address it because it's so nerdy. You don't even want to know about it. Everybody in this would fall asleep and die because it's so boring. But
very considerate guest. I appreciate that.
To bottom line it, the people who run USPSA are not like they've got a scale problem. Like it started off as this little boutique cottage industry, and now they've got nearly 40,000 members, and they're growing in popularity as people just learn about what it is. And so it becomes one of those things like now is USPSA successful because of its leadership or in spite of its leadership? And with recent events, we've learned that it is very much an in spite of relationship. So they're functionally terrible. And now everybody's trying to wrestle the organization away from the terrible leaders that are currently running it. So I really hope that they get some good leaders in there who have something to offer beyond just really liking USPSA, because some of the people who were putting up there, they have no like qualifications to actually lead anything. They just really like USPSA. And I hate to spoil it for you, but those guys are going to be ineffective as leaders too, because they have no leadership credentials. So help us all. I hope that some good guys get in there to run it because it is a really fun game.
Yeah, but like anything, government, corporations, sometimes they just get too big and nepotism. And then the wrong people get in there. I've talked to a lot of people. I do logistics. I talk to a lot of people, and I look at them like, how did you get this job? I mean, does your mom own this place? I mean, what's going on?
Failed up to your level of incompetence, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did you think about TriggerCon?
TriggerCon was cool. I thought it was so I apologize to anybody in chat who happens to be from the great state of Kansas. But the food was terrible, like really bad. And beyond that, everybody was really cool, really nice. The vendors who showed up were really.
You don't like crunchy lasagna?
Man, it was
not good.
That was actually one of the better meals that we had there. Like, if you get honest about it, it was one of the better ones. Like, me and Mike from the Tactical Considerations channel ended up like hanging out all weekend, sharing a car. And, we stayed at the casino and we're like, it's late, dinner was disappointing. Let's go and see like what food options are available. Like all the restaurants closed at like 10 o'clock. So it was just their stupid deli. And we got like a terrible burger and he got the fries and they made him sick. And just,
You went to the GOA dinner, right?
No, I didn't know there was a GOA dinner.
Yeah, it was just a random meetup at that casino hotel that first night. And we just kind of met up and ate.
Oh no, I didn't go to the dinner. I mean, I went to there was the one at the hangar for the Golden Trigger Award banquet or whatever.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was cool.
That was a cool event, but like you're from Texas too. What'd you think about their Mexican food up there?
Look, let's not talk about it. What I will talk about is, and now look, I think every party should do this. Instead of having people line up for drinks, they had a lot of waitresses going around with drinks.
Aggressively passing out the drinks. Yeah.
It was aggressively passing out drinks. And that was genius.
It was. So what we found was actually like, I played rugby in college. So this was back from the rugby days. They had all the little hot sauce bottles on the table. And everyone's like, wow, these little tequila drinks are a little bit too sweet. I was like, what's going to make them better? Pour one of these in there. So we started dumping the hot sauce into the shots and throwing them back. And it was significantly improved. People didn't believe me when I told them that they try. Like, okay, that makes sense.
Right. All right. We have a question from the chat. LFA Apollo 11. Any thoughts?
I'm supposed to be in the next order going out. Like I'm buying one. Like I signed up really early on the pre-order. I don't know how they are. They come with a Savior bag, which is the same as the Voodoo Priest bag that I got, which is a super nice gun bag. Like very, very nice. They're Cerakote 2011 guns made in America with a polymer grip. Hopefully they're using tool steel small parts, but I don't know. If it's a good slide and a good frame and a good barrel, it could be an amazing gun to build from. You could do Cerakote and go nuts with the thing. So I'm excited to see more American options at the $1,000 price point.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I mean, American options at $1,000. I don't know. I think the Gerson has it cornered right now.
But the LFA Apollo 11 is $1,000, and it doesn't come with a magwell, but it's a bull barrel 2011, or I think it's a bull barrel. I'm second guessing myself.
I've been talking to those guys for years, and they're very tight on that Apollo 11.
Yeah, they
got one hater. Dale says Texas Mex is not that good. For one,
I'm not claiming it is, but I'm just saying
not Texas Mex. It's Tex Mex.
Yeah,
and it's pretty good if you like a lot of cheese.
If you like a lot of cheese, it is good. But you can also, I mean, you can get authentic Mex here too. It's not it just depends where you go, right?
Yeah, there's a couple places, because I'm from Los Angeles, so I grew up with real good Mexican food, which is a lot more plain than people think.
Oh, and yeah. I mean, it's just like meat and cilantro and onions.
Lots and lots of peppers.
Yeah.
A lot of hot cilantro.
It's yeah, I mean, but my day job keeps me out between Dallas and San Diego, so
I thought the Apollo 11 was expensive, and Dennis Dixon says it's $1,600.
No, it's not. It's $979 plus shipping and handling and other fees.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yep. I've got it up on my screen right now. Looking at it, $979 if you get black. If you get flat dark earth, it's also $979. And elite gray, also $979. It's a 5-inch gun with a short rail. It's got 2 ports at the front, so if you want to get the barrel ported, you could. It is cut for an RMSC right out of the box. It's a polymer grip with no magwell, so hopefully it takes STI or staccato magwells. The mag button is not drilled and tapped for a larger, button, but I mean, it looks like a pretty good spec gun. Hopefully the execution is good. I have no idea how the fit is, but see what they say. They're setting their triggers up at, I'm sure it's like a 3.5 pound trigger.
There's a lot of
it's a bushingless bull barrel.
There's got to be a lot of MIM parts in there for them to keep it at under $1,000.
Maybe, or they just ordered a bunch of, or I don't know. It could be. 3.5-pound trigger out of the box.
That's not bad.
Saying length of twist is 4.11 inches, which I don't know what that would be. A one. I don't know what that twist works out to. The rifle. Okay, the one thing that is interesting is it's got a 1 in 16 rifling barrel, which means it's going to play nicer with like higher velocity stuff. A 1 in 16 isn't going to like the heavier for caliber stuff. Traditionally, it might, but the 1 in 16 barrels that used to come for Glocks, like you basically had to shoot the highest velocity stuff to get killer accuracy from it when you would do that. But like 1 in 10 is a more common rifling that works better for a wider range of projectiles.
But yeah, so I'd love to see it compared to the Gerson 2311. Me too.
I would love to do that. So if I could get a Gerson 2311 and an LFA Apollo, I will do that video in a heartbeat. But this actually is okay because this is not a gun. This is a grip. What is that? What is that there?
What does that go to? Hold on. Let me bring my screen bigger. What is that writing on it?
That is an Oracle Arms 2311 grip.
Where's the rest of the gun?
Yeah, I know. Exactly. I got a grip, but I don't have a gun.
Do you have it off camera or you just don't have it?
I don't have it. I have a grip. I seriously have a grip. I talked to them at TriggerCon, and they're like, yeah, if you want to get like I'll send you an extra grip, and you can like get it stippled and Cerakoted. It'd be really cool. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, what about my gun? Well, 60 to 90 days now. I was like, all right.
Dude, that's funny.
So
Urban Ninja, good to see you in the chat, buddy. Oracle Arms 2311. Oh, I guess they got to call it a 2311.
Yeah, he got the guess right. He knew what it was.
This guy is a true ninja, so he knows. So TriggerCon was great. I thought it was the event itself was fantastic. I thought the shooting event was really great.
Range day was very good. I thought it was especially. I didn't realize they were charging people $25, and people were just giving away ammo. You could shoot whatever you wanted. Like it was a really special. Like if you wanted to go shoot all of the cool guns, you could go do that at this thing, and it was easily worth $25. Like that to me, that was like $100.
That was with the bus ride to the event, yeah. And so I got there, and when you drove in, you saw a whole row of tents. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then there's
three of these. Yeah,
and there's another
three
row
bays that big.
Holy shit, there's a lot. So what I did is, as soon as I got off the bus, I beeline straight down to Barrett. And I got there, I shot the Barrett like 15 times. And the guy's like, are you done? I'm like, do you see anybody else here, Chuck? There's no one here, man. So I just got to shoot a Barrett. I was shooting 800 yards all day. It was great.
I didn't shoot the Barrett, although because when I got there, it's like I'm going to try and make as much of this content as I can. So I went straight to the pistols that I wanted to shoot and just shot them all before like the line started picking up. Right. And by the time I was done with that, and like I ate my lunch and I looked over at the Barrett thing, and there was they had the Barrett on the second story of this like shooting shed. If you have like Top Golf or whatever, it was like the top deck of this little shooting shack thing, and there was a line all the way down from the top and like out past the bottom of the thing. Like it was probably 100 people in that line.
Oh yeah, they had a 50 cal, and they also had a 338 Lapua and something else I didn't shoot. But man,
so from an experience perspective, I wish I had got to shoot that Barrett, but I was there, professional. So I was doing professional. This is how professional I was, though. I didn't bring a backup battery for my main camera, and so the battery went down after like 2 pieces of content. So I ended up having to use my backup camera, which significantly lower quality than my main camera. So that wasn't great.
I watched a couple of those videos. I couldn't tell a difference.
Well, I appreciate that. You're very kind.
Wink, wink. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So what's the next event you're going to? Are you going to go to your SHOT Show, of course, right?
Not SHOT Show, yeah.
You do an NRA? It's in your backyard.
Since it's in my backyard, yes. Like that's a show. that like, especially if it's close by, I'll definitely go and do that. But that'll probably be more to just like meet people and do stuff. Like, I don't know how many industry contacts and networking I'll get done at that, but you know, being in Dallas, obviously it makes sense to go. So
Yeah.
I'll be doing that. I'll probably do those 2 events, and maybe TriggerCon again. That actually went pretty well. It was pretty cool. I thought they did a great job curating. Like, they brought a lot of media folks in. Like, they had most of the heavies, at least all the ones I consider heavies, to be there. So it was cool. I got to meet Honest Outlaw like him and I have chatted on, the computer for years.
Yeah.
And to finally get to, shake hands and say what's up. Although he was like, he had like a fan of, or a squad of groupies with him all the time. And then Nick from PewView, got to meet him too.
Yeah, I met Nick for the first time. I've known Chris for a minute, but yeah, so I took a picture with Chris, and I thought, man, this is cool. I took a picture of a couple of years ago, and I showed it to my wife. She goes, "You look like his fat prom date." I'm like, I was gonna post it to Instagram, but I was like, nah, never mind. She goes, "Is he a chubby cheese? You look like his fat prom." My wife is funny as shit. She goes, "You look like his fat prom date." I'm like, thanks a lot. So the Kimber KD9S, C, what?
Yeah.
What did you really
KS9C
think about
or
that?
something.
You just did a video on it not too long ago. Did you like it? Because I was really trying to get my hands on one for a minute. Should I look for?
It's really slippery.
Options to
They
review?
don't have a lot of grip texture on it, like specifically the front and back strap, which to me is kind of unforgivable, because like that's the most important part of the pistol to be gripping. And it's pretty. I still don't have a proper optics plate for it. Like, they haven't released them, or they have and they just sell out immediately. I don't know. Like, either way, it's kind of unforgivable. So it's sitting in my safe right now with no optic plate on it. But I mean, it's accurate. It's like shooting a 30-ounce gun. Like, if you shot like a 229 or something like that, it's kind of like that as far as how it shoots. The trigger is, it's an okay kind of MIM sort of feeling trigger. Kind of like the Prodigy, I guess you'd say. It because it is so slippery and the mag button is oversized, like with really stout loads, I was having issues with the gun rotating into my palm and dropping the magazine.
I saw that. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, that was with the Bear Defense loads. Like, none of the other loads did that, but that one did. But I mean, it kind of underscores the point that I would need more aggressive grips for it, because it does rotate a little bit too much for me to be comfortable with a mag button that size. But it's not like you're not going to pick it up and run the slide and be like, ooh, this is well made. Like, you can be like, this feels like a production gun. It feels like a 229 or something like that, and how the slide
no rail, man, no rail.
No rail. That's an interesting choice.
It's funny because I see guns made today. I think every gun today, or most, you got to have some kind of optic availability. I mean, if you're making 1911s and you're not putting an optic plate, what are you doing? You got to do something. You just have the option to be able to put a saddle on it.
Yeah.
You can put a proper optic. But I don't know. I see a lot of these guns, and it's kind of bumming me out. Salty Larry, did we already discuss the Gerson 2311?
We talked about it a little bit.
I love it. I think it's great for the price. For the price, it is pretty good.
How is the slide to frame fit? I should know, because I shot them. I didn't do a video because
It's
I
a
didn't
little
get great
rattly,
footage.
but I probably put about 800 rounds through it, and so far, it's a fine gun. But there's a lot of people out there that'll see like a staccato, or they'll see all these, 15, 1600. I'll never pay that much for a gun. It's overpriced. I'll never pay that much. If it was only $1,000. So they made $1,000 one. They're like, how many MIM parts are in it? I would never buy a MIM part. I'm like, look, man,
What do you want here?
2311. You can't have it all, man.
Oh, I got a bunch of crap for my video yesterday because it's on a $3,200 2011 pistol, and I called it semi-affordable because it's not affordable, but it's also not $6,000 like an Atlas Gunworks gun.
Right.
So it's semi-affordable, and they're like, you're such an idiot for calling it that. Like, I got absolutely harpooned in my comments for referring to it as semi-affordable. So I think the way that the chart goes, like, I nearly made a meme today with this, is just like affordable, and it would be like Gerson 2311, semi-affordable, like Bull Armory tack, expensive Staccato P, ridiculously expensive, MPA, and then just like the angry Wojak guy for Infinity or Atlas or anything like that.
Yeah. The grip size is like a Staccato, I guess.
I mean, it takes Staccato mags. It takes 2011 mags, right?
Yeah. I just wish they had done something a little different with the grip itself. It feels cheap.
It's 3D printed.
It's not amazing. That's where I think the Prodigy is amazing. When I first held it, I was like, that grip is gonna suck, and then I was like, oh, that's a nice grip.
No, it's good.
I love it. That's a cool grip. It's
the
like
Prodigy got a bad name because the 5-inch guns had issues running out of the box.
Yeah.
I bought a 4 1/4-inch gun. It ran like a top. Like, it's had maybe 2 malfunctions, and it was with Sig Sauer hollow points, the V crowns, which also choked the Staccato when I was shooting them. So, like, Sig loads really, really short hollow points, and 2011's like really long cartridges. So it's not a surprise to me that both the Staccato and the Prodigy choked on it. The Bull had no problem with the shorter Sig rounds, but I think the Prodigy is really nice for what it is. The fit is pretty good. Like, the slide to frame is pretty good.
Yeah.
The disconnector is kind of crap. It hangs up the slide. Like, I can lock the slide open just with the disconnector without using the slide stop, which isn't ideal. So the geometry on the disconnector is a little bit wrong, or the spring is a little too stiff, whatever.
Yeah.
But the Prodigy is a really great gun to build from. Like, if you wanted to gut it and put, an Atlas ignition kit or something like that into it and get a new manual safety for it, slap a magwell on there, you'd have a really good gun for, sub $2,000.
Yeah. I was shooting the 5-inch version, and we had a couple failures in the beginning, but it smoothed out quite a bit. I had about 5 failure feeds, and towards a couple hundred rounds into it, it smoothed out. It was all right. All right, not to keep you too long, 2 questions. This is it. I ask everyone these 2 questions. Out of the last year and a half, what gun absolutely shocked you about how good it was, and you were expecting mediocre, and then it blew you away? What's the one gun over the last year and a half that just blew you away? You're like, holy shit, this is an amazing gun.
So
please
the gun that blew me away and I thought is absolutely ridiculous was the Staccato XC. I thought there's no way that this thing is as good as everyone says it is out of the box. Like, these guys don't know what they're talking about. Then I shot it and I was like, okay, this is absurd. This is really, really silly. This is a very fun gun to shoot. That one did not surprise me as much. The gun in the past year and a half that probably surprised me the most was the Shadow Systems. Was it the DR920P? They're compensated, Glock 17 basically. It's Glock 34 length. That has a really big compensator and a really lightened slide. And it's a very lightweight gun with a very low bore axis. So it's unreasonably stable to be as lightweight as it is. If it had a nicer trigger, because the Glock trigger system just isn't the best, it'd really be something special. But it weighs 23 ounces and it shoots like a 40-ounce gun basically, and how it returns to zero and stuff like that. They have a great frame on that gun. It shoots really, really well. It's until I shot the XC, I thought pound for pound that was one of the best shooting guns that anybody had made. And I shot my 9 major competition loads. I shot a magazine of those out of that gun and it was fine. It didn't care. And that was because I only tried that because the compensator is so darn big on those things. So it's like, yeah, we'll see what happens. It's probably not a good thing to be doing, but I knew that the Shadow Systems barrels are very tightly match fit. So I knew it could take it, and it did. And I mean, I wouldn't do it regularly, but the fact it took a magazine of 9 major is impressive. And honestly, it handled it very well. Like, it was not a handful necessarily. with 9 major. But the DR920P is pretty special, and the Staccato XC would probably be the two that exceeded my expectations.
I shot the XC. I thought that was a great gun. I shot one Shadow Systems a year ago, but I couldn't tell you what model it was. Now, on the flip side, what gun did you shoot? And let's just throw them under the bus. No, I'm kidding. What gun did you shoot where you're just so disappointed and you're like, damn, I waited this long for this?
That's easy, actually. If you read the comments on YouTube, you will believe that Taurus guns are amazing. Taurus guns are not amazing. They are acceptable if you get a good one, and they are bad if you get a bad one. Like the G3C, it's not that nice a gun to shoot. Like the design of the frame and the trigger is not that great. Like it's a very long trigger and it breaks really far back. So if you've got bigger hands, like you just simply
isn't it like a sub $300 gun though?
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it is.
I have
one.
one.
People are like, it's just as good as everything. If you read the comments, it's not. It's not as good. Like my hit rate with Taurus is 50%. 50% of the Tauruses that I've bought, all of them I've bought, half of them had to go back because the barrels didn't work. One of them was the 22, and it wouldn't stabilize any projectiles. Like it had tumbling with every single projectile. It was a smooth bore 22.
The TX22?
The TX22.
Was it the competition or was it the regular one?
It was a regular.
Okay.
But how on earth did it pass QC that the barrel doesn't have any rifling? That's disappointing. And the
QC is as good as Kimber.
Yeah. And the other of the G3C, the issue that I had with them was the chamber was too tight. And so it would get stuck. Like the cases wouldn't extract. About 1 in 9 would fail. So I'd get 1 to 2 failures per magazine of like stovepipes. And I thought that was just the extractor was screwed up and skipping off the case. No, it wasn't that. It was the chamber wasn't cut to spec. And that's apparently pretty common. And if you read the comments, a lot of people are like, yeah, I love my Taurus. It's the best. It won't shoot hollow points, which means probably that other people have the same issue to a lesser extent, because if it won't fit hollow points, which is probably what the issue is the hollow point is getting into the throat of the barrel, then they probably also have out of spec chambers, but theirs is just more in spec to where it takes ball. So that gun disappointed me the most. The GX4, however, was great. I thought that gun shoot really, really well for what it cost and everything. I thought it was, it actually was a really good value. But the G3C and the G3 just is not that cool a gun. And
I don't expect great triggers. I don't expect amazing slide to frame fit. I expect it to work though.
The Arex Delta is one that I shot recently and I really liked. And it's not a lot more money than a Taurus G3.
Really?
Yeah, it's a pretty solid gun. I think it's like a Glock, but it has way better ergonomics. The trigger is about like a Glock trigger. It's not special, but you can get an optics ready one for like $400 or less. I mean, for a while there, they were like on sale for like $325 or something. It was stupid cheap.
Yeah. Kanaka Hawaiian, aloha. Are you still? How do you like your platypus still? Because that's a gun I was looking at for a long time. I really want to. I'm not working at the moment, so I'm not ordering any guns, but I was really looking at that one. I thought it'd be really cool to trick one out.
I think is like a forever. So like my use case on what I look for in guns, like basically I want every single gun to be a competition gun. The platypus is an awesome gun, but it is not a competition gun. So I want to try again when they put the competition trim models in, like a slightly heavier frame with a bull barrel. I'll probably buy another one. But with a bushing barrel, it is very well made. Like the craftsmanship is awesome. It's just not the spec that I personally want in that style of gun. So if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I want to get closer to kind of what I like. And, that'd be a bull barrel with an ambi safety, full size optic, closer to 40 ounces in weight is what I would want.
Andy Cigar says somewhere Hop is disappointed in shade being thrown at Taurus.
He's probably putting on guy liner in a mirror, listening to emo music.
You talking about Hop Lopafile?
Yeah, he's just Hop now. He shortened it.
I know. I saw it. He just changed it. Yeah. That dude. We were at CMMG together, and I was trying to get him to laugh the whole night, and I finally got him to like start cracking up. Yeah, that's a hard nut to crack right there.
Hop is a cool dude. I've been to a few events with him, with Sig Sauer, and I enjoy hanging out with Hop. Hop is a really cool guy. But
Very
he's
dry sense of
such
humor.
a dry sense of humor. He's hilarious too. Like
He's a cat person.
I mean, you couldn't
He
tell.
has a cat, so I was like, oh, he's a freaking softie.
I don't know about that. The fact that everybody is merciless on him in the comments is hilarious to me. Did you meet the Desk Pop guys at TriggerCon?
No, maybe.
Those guys are hilarious. They were very funny. They were the three guys. One of them had like, I don't know, one of those, I don't even know what you call it, like a shema or whatever it is, balaclava or whatever it's called. Tall guy with one of those, kind of a shorter guy with like very square, like aviator, actual like glasses, and pants with the cuffs rolled up or whatever. It's just Gen Z dudes who actually they're pretty funny, and they do a lot of stuff with video. Like the guy who runs the channel, Joe, is actually like in video production is like his day job, and he's just trying to do a gun channel.
They have a YouTube channel. I don't.
Do.
Man, I don't watch a lot of YouTubers.
They did a video on TriggerCon where they made this ridiculous like petition to get like it. Basically, they put like a sticker over the top of it, so it said like "cool guy signature list," but underneath it was a petition saying that Desk Pop, for all these reasons or whatever, being disadvantaged by living in Washington and having bad access to guns, these other channels will agree to become anti-gun so that they can become the biggest gun channel on YouTube or something like that. So they passed around this petition and got like all of the celebrities at TriggerCon to sign it, and it was very funny. So
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, they do a good job. They are funny guys.
Oh, I saw that guy. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
They're funny dudes. Their camera was like insane. Like Joe's a nerd, and he had the most insane camera I've ever seen.
That's why I noticed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those guys now. I didn't talk to him, but yeah, I remember seeing him walk around. I don't really pay attention a whole lot to this stuff. Like, honestly, how many YouTubers do you watch? Do you watch a lot of YouTube?
I watch a lot of Formula One YouTube videos. That's what I watch on YouTube.
I do like Formula One.
Yeah. What'd you think about Lewis and Charles getting DQ'd over the weekend?
Oh, I didn't see it.
Well, they did the U.S. Grand Prix, and then after the Grand Prix, they inspected 4 cars at random. One of them was Max's. I don't remember. It was Max, Lando, Charles, and Lewis got inspected, and they ended up disqualifying Charles and Lewis because the plank on the bottom of the cars had worn too thin at the rear. So they ended up like promoting Lando to 2nd place and Sainz to 3rd place. And so Logan Sargent scored his first point at the U.S. Grand Prix over the weekend.
That's crazy that you could even. Do you think they did it on purpose, or they just wore out, or?
Well, it was a sprint weekend, so they didn't have 3 practice sessions to get the car set up in. And I think they just ended up setting the ride height too low and ended up on a bumpy track wearing it down. Because, I mean, if you watched those 2 cars, they sparked a lot. Whereas the Red Bulls and the McLarens didn't really spark. Those ones did. And they just wore down on the bottom. So, like, the point is the car could wear out and become dangerous or whatever and unstable. Yeah. So that's why they do that. But
when I worked in Long Beach, the building I worked in was in the middle of the track for the Long Beach Grand Prix. And so they would go around. So everybody and their mama wanted to come hang out at my office because it was on the 8th floor. And you could sit there, and we were on 2 turns, 2 sides of the building. So you could sit there and watch 2 really aggressive turns. And they'd always bump in and kind of a couple wall hits here and there. But it was always really a lot of fun. That was a great job. I worked there for years. Loved the Long Beach Grand Prix.
How long have you been in Texas?
11 glorious years. 12, almost 12.
Okay. So you got out while the getting was good then.
Oh, yeah. And I have kids here now, so I got anchor babies in Texas, and they can't deport me back to California. So it's great, man. I love it.
Yeah, Texas is great.
I love it. Well, I like Georgia, too. My brother's in Georgia. He lives in Noonan.
Yeah, Noonan. I know Noonan well. I had a bunch of friends from Noonan in Peachtree City.
Yeah, Peachtree City's great. And then, Rapid Fire Rachel used to work right there in Noonan too.
Noonan was great. The people were real nice there. I did a day job was in the construction field. I had a project down in Noonan for a library. So I built a
Nice.
library down in Noonan.
They still read there. I'm kidding. No, but I like Georgia quite a bit. If it wasn't for Texas, I would have moved to Georgia.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like Georgia as well. Although Atlanta traffic is about as bad as Houston traffic. It just sucks.
It sucks.
I don't know that I could do.
Yeah. Well, Houston traffic is predictable. You know the exact times. Not like LA. LA is all day, every day, everywhere you go.
Oh yeah, that's like the one place in the country you could move from and move to Houston and be like, you know what, this traffic's not so bad.
It's not so bad. Well, then too, when they gave driver's license to illegal aliens in California, overnight, every Uber driver, their mama was illegal alien, and it was just packed. The freeways got packed overnight. It was crazy, nuts.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, thank you so much for coming on. I don't want to keep you too late, but everyone in the chat, I'm going to post a link to his channel. Please like and subscribe to his channel if you're not subscribed to Humble Marksman, and subscribe to my channel too. Any last words of wisdom, David?
Smash Time. Just be sure you subscribe to Smash Time. But you should also, you've got a YouTube community, you should get fired up on Locals. Locals is a better platform for that kind of stuff. And, they actively like Second Amendment content out there. And I mean, it's tough to walk away from a platform. So then it's asking you to kind of work in two places at once. But I just recently started on Locals, and I'm not going to turn my back on Patreon, but I am going to focus more on putting energy into places that want to, promote the things that I like. So
right.
Locals is cool.
Locals is
but
cool.
Also Rumble.
2A EDU is over on Locals. And he likes it quite a bit. I'm on Rumble. I have everything I put up on YouTube gets uploaded to Rumble, but I don't go on there because their search engine is still kind of crappy. But
I'll say mahalo to Kanaka Hawaiian.
No, Clayco 47, you came at the very end, bro. Come on. The one Texas celebrity is not here. It's okay. You can watch it on replay. Awesome, David. I really appreciate you coming on. Everyone in the chat, please like, subscribe to his channel. I appreciate all you guys. And next week, we have another cool guest. Till next time, guys. Till next time.